The last couple of days in the market have been so-so days. In fact, they were red days, and the bears out there were slowly scaling into their positions, expecting the market to top out here and have a huge reversal back down. But what happened yesterday was that four pieces of good news came out after the market closed, and this sent stocks flying higher in the after hours, including into today's trading day. And as a result, a lot of these short sellers had to cover their positions fast, leading to even more buying in the market. So let's spend this time today in this video to discuss what these four pieces of good news were that set stocks pretty much on another rally here. And let's discuss what this means for us as an investor and whether we should be looking to buy more stocks right now. Now, this is a detailed video, and I did take a bit of time here to research all this information, so if you appreciate that, hit a like down below and also share this with a friend that could learn a lot from this video. So the first piece of good news here is around Gilead's positive results. So this was actually huge news yesterday because one of the treatments that Gilead Sciences used and they've been working on for the global issue actually had a big breakthrough. This was huge positive news to get us going and get the ball rolling really in the after hours. And pretty much what they said was that preliminary results using this treatment in severely ill patients are positive with rapid recoveries in fever and respiratory symptoms. And the big part here is that almost all the patients were discharged in less than a week. Guys, this is massive progress and the market realizes this because if we have found a treatment for this issue, it's not only going to accelerate our recovery in currently ill patients, it'll also help with future patients as well to treat the issue. Not only that, it'll also help accelerate the recovery of our economy, which as investors is something that we look forward to. Now, this piece of news single-handedly, in my opinion, would have been good reason for the stock market to react positively. And clearly shares of Gilead were reacting positively to this news as well. But lucky for us, this was just the tip of the iceberg. The second piece of good news was around Boeing and them opening up their plants. Now, Boeing is a huge Dow component, so when they have good news and it moves up, the whole Dow moves up as well. Anyways, a bit after the market closed yesterday, Boeing announced that they will be resuming commercial airplane production in one of their factories. Guys, this is big news because at this plant there are over 27,000 workers, and this means 27,000 jobs are now once again safe for these individuals. This is extremely positive for the economy once again, and of course for Boeing as well. Now, these employees will be working on the production of the 747, 767, 777, and 787 planes. And guess what? Huge news here is that Boeing also announced that the 737 program will resume working towards restarting production of the 737 MAX. This could mean, it's just speculation, but I think it holds some truth, that the FAA certification is closer than we think. Now, Boeing goes on to say that shifts will actually start as early as April 20th and will stagger through April 24th to get things fully up and running. But things won't be business as usual like it was a few months ago. Boeing will make efforts here to ensure the safety of their workers by outlining a whole bunch of guidelines and rules that will help keep them protected while they work. Some of these guidelines will be things like social distancing, basic hygienic things, wearing masks, and of course staggering shift times to reduce the number of people entering and exiting the workforce at the same time. Now, pause this video here if you want to read through every single one of these practices that Boeing has implemented. But honestly, I think this is very good on Boeing to start production again, get these people their jobs back again, and perhaps this is the first move to start turning around the negative image around this company going forward. Okay, so at this point, we've had two pieces of massive news that came out shortly after the market closed yesterday. And the Dow is pretty much rallying now because, like I said, Boeing is leading the way. But there were more pieces of good news that came out. The third piece of good news here, which was another big one, is that Trump plans to reopen America once again for business, and he plans to do this in different phases, as they call it. This is big because the US economy opening back up means that businesses can once again make money. So the administration actually made a full document here, which you can find on Google, going over the details specifically, but I'll highlight some of the key things here for you guys. In phase one, for individuals like you and I, they say that if you're an older or more vulnerable person, you should be staying at home. However, if you're not, you can continue going outside, continue social distancing, and do not gather in groups of 10 or more. Of course, you got to exercise caution and use your common sense here, and that's pretty much the bottom line. Everything we've been doing thus far in the last month shouldn't have been forgotten. Now in phase 1 for employers, they say to continue working from home if possible, but if not, try to work in different shift starting times, similar to what Boeing is doing. Also, they ask to clean common areas and minimize non-essential travel. Now, certain types of employers or businesses will remain closed still, and this includes schools and bars, but places like gyms and even theaters and venues can operate as long as they follow social distancing protocols. Honestly, this was surprising to see, but I'll leave my opinion on this subject out of this one. Now they continue on to phase 2 and phase 3, but I won't cover that on here because you can just look that up online if you're interested. But in summary, phase 2 will allow larger gatherings and places like schools and bars can start to open. And in phase 3, pretty much everything is back open. Those vulnerable are able to leave their house again, and we're slowly going to go back to the normal economy that we had a few months ago. But keep in mind that things like social distancing and sanitization are here to stay for now, so that will continue throughout all these phases. So for the stock market, this is huge news because it now gives us a plan and outline on how the US economy is going to start reopening once again. I think a phased approach is a good way to do this because it'll start allowing us to open up certain parts of the economy while others still remain relatively closed. And then once we're at a certain point where everyone's kind of following these rules, things are looking good, they can start going on to phase 2, phase 3 and all that kind of stuff. And I think if we stay diligent here, we can go back to the norm sooner than we think. Now, the important thing to know here, though, is that this will all be done on a state-by-state basis and will completely be up to the governors of each state to decide if and when they want to reopen. Some states like New York will probably be one of the last states to open, but other states like California may open up fairly soon. So like we've discussed many times, the market hates uncertainty, and when we see some certainty and we see a plan, the market rallies. Now, the final piece of good news here that I want to discuss wasn't exactly good news, but when you put it in context, it is better than expected. China came out and reported their Q1 GDP numbers, and yes, it was negative at negative 6.8%, which is actually the first quarter decline since 1992 for China, if we believe those numbers. But analysts were expecting a decline of negative 6.5%, so this was more or less in line with expectations, guys. China also reported their industrial activity and retail sales for March, and retail sales were down a big 15.8%, and industrial production was down 1.1%. Analysts had expected industrial production to fall much further at 7.3% in March, so a drop of just 1.1% looks extremely good, and even though it was a decline, it still is positive news. Now, we don't know if these numbers from China can be trusted, but it is what it is, and regardless, it helped the markets continue its positive path upwards. This is because it gives us hope in the US that if things in China are true, we could possibly follow the same pattern. So all of these things that we covered were good pieces of news in the market, and it starts to signal to us that there may be more upside and good news ahead as opposed to downside and bad news ahead. Maybe March 23rd was in fact the bottom here. Maybe the market realized this much sooner than you and I did. And that's exactly what I mean by the market is forward looking, and we'll have to wait and see if that holds true. But the way it stands right now, that may have actually been the bottom. So now with all these pieces of good news, what am I personally doing with my investments? Am I buying more stocks? Am I selling stocks? Am I holding? Well, funny enough, I actually made a few fundamental shifts in my account yesterday. I closed out 2 positions, both for really good profits, and I made a purchase at the end of the day as well before we saw this rally. I'm trying to focus my time and efforts here on quality businesses, and that's where I see most of my potential going forward. And of course, if you're interested in what positions I sold or bought, you can check that out in my VIP group. Link is in the description down below. But anyways, after this rally here, am I chasing stocks? Not necessarily. I'm still looking for businesses that are on sale, and if I see good value, I'll continue buying. But guys, for the most part, premium businesses are not showing that great value anymore. So I'm trying to sit on my hands here and wait for value to present itself again. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're standing strong there with your investments. And it appears to be a wild ride here for the rest of 2020. But if you stand strong over the long term, things should look good. I think that the worst may be behind us at this point, but if you disagree with me, hit that like button first, but then let me know in the comment section down below as to your reasoning why you think that things could actually get worse from here as opposed to better. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one.